Good morning, Mosaic. Tina Miranda, one of the deacons at Mosaic, here with your Monday is for Motivation message, brought to you by the letter M and by this $50 Mighty Fine gift card that I'm just dying to give away. So stay tuned to find out how you can be the blessed recipient. You know, I try to get out every day and walk, and I walk in a loop that brings me by our house multiple times. And whenever I pass by the house, I can't help but think about the people inside and how they came home one Friday afternoon from school and work excited about spring break and how they've been sheltering in place ever since. You know, we've had some pretty awesome times in the last several weeks with family, but we've also had plenty of what I'm just gonna call growth opportunities. And when I pass by our house, I can't help but wonder, what if? What if the people that went into quarantine are not the same people that come out? What if in the midst of all this hard, and despite it, God is doing something truly amazing in me, my husband, our children, our family? And so I wanted to come on here this morning and just encourage you with that question. What if? What if you, me, we are not the same people when this is over? What if the people, the families, and the church that come out of our homes after this virus has run its course are simply not the same? What kind of motivation would it take to make that happen? You know, motivation is something that causes us to do something, a willingness or a desire to move, and it implies a motive, which is that which moves us or incites us to action and moves the will. What kind of thing is going to do that? What kind of thing is going to be able to pull us forward through this and actually propel us beyond? I think that motivation looks like something timeless, something that existed in the Trinitarian Godhead before the world even began. I think it's the motivation that moved our God to create us in His likeness, to give us dominion over the earth, to spread His glory throughout. It looks like the motivation that caused Him to seek out Adam and Eve at the garden and to clothe them in animal skins to hide their shame. It looks like the motivation that moved our God to seek out a sonless, idol-worshiping Abram and to make a covenant with him and his descendants for them to be his people. It's the same motivation that moved that holy God to seek out those people again and again and again to rescue them from the consequences of their own sin. And ultimately, the motivation that led the Father to sacrifice his own Son to save us once and for all. For God so loved the world. Y'all, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take a love that is so powerful and persistent that it truly did conquer all. And so what I want to encourage us to do today is to just pause, take a time out, take a deep spiritual breath. And yes, I am aware that the whole world already seems to be on hold. But just because our social calendars have come to a screeching halt and schools and businesses are closed does not mean that our souls are at rest. I'm talking about doing what is commanded in Psalm 46, where it talks about waves crashing, waters roaring, mountains quaking, falling into the sea, the earth giving way, and yet tells us in the midst of all of that to be still and know. So when I say pause for a moment, this is what I'm referring to. Be still and know. It seems simple, but it takes action. It is the hardest thing for us to do, to be still. So find some space, whether it's in a closet or a bathroom or underneath the table, wherever that space is, and just be still. Because I think that before the love of God can motivate us, we need to let it minister to us. So let's do that this week. Let's let the love of God minister to us. Soak it in, marinate in us. And then Paul says in 2 Corinthians that Christ's love compels us. It moves us to what? To compassion, to mercy, to seek justice. It can't help but do anything else. So come on, church, let's take a moment this week and just be still. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. If you're interested in possibly earning this $50 Mighty Fine gift card, what you can do is hit me up on Instagram or Facebook or email me, tina@mosaicchurchaustin.com, and tell me how many times during this video I use words that started with the letter M. The first one to guess it correctly is going to get this Mighty Fine gift card. I will mail it out to them. If nobody gets it right, then I'm going to go ahead and pick the person who got the closest without going over. Godspeed, Mosaic, until we meet again in person.